Magnitude by Katty Pearce. On the 200th day of the rescue expedition, HMS Good Hope found what it had come seeking in Edward Bay. The gloom of the day had barely lifted after the weak, insipid dawn. Captain William Bale was sent word at the morning watch, and he met it with a curt nod. He had thought their chances low at best. Some guilty part of him had hoped they would fail, if only to avoid the ghastly hullabaloo of press and admiralty and the wife on their return. He shouldered on his greatcoat, best to see it for himself. There was little glory in being captain of this particular expedition. Good Hope had been sent after Sir Henry Roscoe's lost HMS Magnitude, 3 years gone into the wilderness of the frozen northwest. Magnitude was gone, all right. Famously gone. Broadsheet and ballad gone. 126 souls with her and not a trading route found. Though Lady Roscoe could not be brought to believe it, the consensus was that Magnitude had found herself overwintered and overmastered by solid, immovable ice. By a solid, immovable captain, thought Bale. Though, who could say such a thing aloud? A pressure campaign had been funded by the assumed widow. The great man could not have perished in such a humiliating manner. A rescue ship would find him and bring him home to tell tales of his adventures in public lecture halls. The admirals, under threat of Lady Roscoe putting together her own private expedition, summoned Bale to put an end to it. His orders: find what you can of our men. The public cannot rest until at least some are interred in British soil. Sir Henry's wife will never grant us the peace her husband has achieved, God rest him, etc., and until we can prove his demise beyond doubt. You wish me to scour the Arctic wilderness for Sir Henry Roscoe's corpse? He had asked. They had not said yes. They had not said no. Do your best, Captain. Find what there is to be found. Bring back whomever is there to be brought. We must draw a line. He was captain of the morgue. Now at last, the most important body was being dredged up the side from a cutter and onto the quarterdeck, and then taken below for a more private reception. Schooling his features into an attitude of grim professionalism, the captain went to meet what was left of the great Sir Henry Roscoe, thence to bring him home to a hero's welcome and a nation's mourning the man did not deserve. He met his beetle-browed first lieutenant, Forrester, at the door. Bad business, Captain, said Forrester, eyes down. Bale grunted and brushed past him into the screened section of the hold, packed high with blocks of ice. 3 emaciated bodies wrapped in canvas, as yet unidentified, lay stiff on a long table. Beside them, a larger, thicker set body, rigid with ice water. The first thing Bale noticed were the feet. Boots gone, bare. So blue they were black. A round-faced, bespectacled little man fussed about the solid trunk, brushing at the shoulders, and looked up with a cheerful smile. Remarkably well preserved, considering, said Holborn. Always unnerving for a surgeon to be so naturally bonhomous. No sign of interference from marine life, not a nibble. Apart from... Holborn moved back, and then the captain saw properly. Good Christ. He had long ago resigned himself to informing the Admiralty he had failed to find Sir Henry's body, then to telling them he had succeeded. What he had not foreseen was having to tell them that he had found it unaccompanied by Sir Henry's head. Fortunately, we can infer his identity quite clearly, you see, said the all-too-merry surgeon. The jacket and epaulettes have preserved quite nicely. Curious, but fortuitous. I don't suppose we'll happen upon the uppermost part, said Lieutenant Forrester. Bale barked a sardonic laugh. I don't suppose we will. We found our needle in a haystack. Wrap him up with the rest, but use the best linens. We may yet find more, exclaimed Holborn. Prime fishing waters these, eh? The surgeon's expression reminded Bale of an overly keen naturalist he had once sat opposite at dinner, so excited by the thrill of pursuit, so delighted to add one more pinned insect to his private collection. No, that is enough. We cannot hope for more. The weather's turning ahead of our calculations. Aye, well, said Forrester sheepishly. No unnecessary risks, of course. It's just we are striking lucky. Bale rarely raised his voice, but he raised it now. We have 3, and we have himself. We do not have a bloody quota to fill. But, sir, the families. Yet, in the wardroom, more officers were of Forrester's mind than his own. His decision was the only one that mattered, of course, but one does not captain a ship as a tyrant, as rumour whispered Sir Henry was wont to. A day more, he conceded. Then we depart. 12 hours later, Bale wished he had not been so diplomatic. Drayton, an experienced midshipman, interrupted the senior officers as they discussed the shift in the wind. Begging your pardon, Captain, something is amiss? Amiss? Where? How? In the old. With Sir Henry, sir. He is, well, Mr. Holborn says he is warm. May I suggest he ventures on deck for a breath of fresh air? No, Sir Henry is warm, sir, begging your pardon. He went to see for himself. Sir Henry was warm and clammy. The surgeon was wringing his hands, wiping them constantly on his leather apron of the sweat that had saturated through Sir Henry's winding sheet. I've not seen anything like this, Captain. Not in all my years. Such a thing ought not to be possible. Bale refused to be unnerved. Some natural reaction. An anomaly, merely. Of course, you haven't seen it before. Where have you seen any of this before? But Bale held up his hand. You are in here too often and for too long, Holborn. It is not an infirmary, it's a mortuary. Go aft, for God's sake. Do not repeat a word of this to any man aboard. Do you understand? Erroneous gossip will only unsettle them, and I need every head clear. On the second day, the weather turned, and viciously. Wind suddenly fierce and fast. It seemed much too early for the pack ice to be thickening, yet it was. As the outside froze, the inside warmed. Sir Henry's linen grew wet and loose and then disintegrated completely. His skin unblackened and took on a rosy hue that might be considered healthful in any living man with a head. Bale swallowed his unease, ordered more ice piled on. Within hours, it was water. Hours more, and the entire mortuary was dry. They tried again and again, in vain. The morgue became indistinguishable from an engine room. Bale slept badly. On day 3, the entire crew knew something dreadful had happened. Sir Henry is melting all that touches him. It's not right. It isn't. Dead years, years and hot as coals. The devil, the malign, ungodly spirits of the Inuit peoples, the lost crew's curse, some evil contagion in the ice. Bale heard it all, believed none, yet still the headless corpse fevered and pulsated. Some called to throw Sir Henry overboard. He is bewitched and will kill us all. Bale attempted to quell their agitation at morning prayers. Science has many unknowns, and we are at a crossroads with it. We must be humble enough to admit how much we do not yet understand. We are traversing great frontiers, making discoveries that will have great import in the fields of anatomy, medicine. Are we not explorers, after all, and men of reason? They calmed for a time. On day 4, the food started to rot. Scrap by scrap, the stores became maggoty and stinking, like Sir Henry himself. Then, beyond rotting, cooking. Sickly reek of beef, foul with adipocere, braising in tins too hot to touch. Every barrel prized open expelled the waft of a coffin. Rum, grog, best brandy became syrupy dregs, tasting of brackish ruin. Violence erupted. Men fought each other for the least green hardtack and the last weevil. Most bore it stoically, determined to retain their dignity, and sought assurances. Yes, of course the captain has a plan. We're on a heading to the nearest port. We will refill with fresh supplies. Any man found stealing or fighting will be flogged half dead. Sir Henry was almost forgotten in the rabid panic of a rationless ship. On day 5, Bale admitted what was unthinkable, but obvious. The ship itself was infected. Dry rot spread at breathtaking speed. A broken mizzenmast, then mainmast. Ropes snapped like thread. Sails gaped with sudden holes as if eaten by gigantic moths. Decks gave way unexpectedly beneath men's boots. A comedy of trapdoors. The hull was thinning, bilge water coming in ever faster. Everywhere the dark, sweet stench of decomposing flesh. Then, inevitably, he supposed, the men. First, teeth crumbling. Then bones cracking and breaking. Then blood from every orifice. Skin greying and peeling, screaming, wailing, but no death. Sir Henry remained the sole stubborn cadaver. What kind of plague rendered perpetual decay with no death? Throughout the hell ship, as he thought of it now, only Bale remained. as he had been before Sir Henry came aboard. Against his better judgment, he paid his fellow captain a visit. Sir Henry's skin was gelatinous, like some deep-sea creatures, a jellyfish he'd seen washed ashore on a childhood holiday. It had not melted exactly. The body retained shape and form, but seemed wobbly round the edges. It looked as though it might collapse to mush at a finger's prod. "What are you?" he almost begged this filthy mockery of a once living man to speak. Yet only the buzzing of flies answered, and the drip, drip of something unspeakable hitting the floor. Sickness reigned. Sickness and decay. Some attempted to hang themselves from a yardarm. No beam or cord would hold. They fell twitching to the deck and through it, crawling blindly in bilge. No death, no end, no mercy. On the evening of the 6th day, Sir Henry walked. Bale stood at the forecastle on shaking legs and watched. Up and down the deck, with plodding heavy gait, went Captain Sir Henry Roscoe. Up and down in a ghastly patrol. The crew seemed transfixed by him, their faces frozen in rictus screams, even those whose jaws had fallen away. Any eyes left intact could do nothing but stare in an unholy paralysis of terror. Fore and aft he went, with an air of command Bale resented. Even headless, he sensed Sir Henry was watching him. Bale's head was thick with noise. He could not even pray, stood in trance, held up by Christ knows what. He waited to collapse for an attack that never came. For anything but this. Not hell after all, but purgatory. A purgatory of waiting, of being unable to take a full breath, of absolute, exquisite fear. On the 7th day, Sir Henry burst into flames. To Bale, it felt like a relief. Unquenchable fire licked from the black stump of his neck. And still, he walked. The fire acted upon the men as a galvanizing force, as though an enchantment had broken. Most, the ones who could move enough, hauled themselves overboard. Bale could not blame their choice of a cold water grave over consumption by unholy flame. The rest became ash, and even they looked grateful. Bale stayed. To be captain of the morgue was to be captain of the crematorium, to burn in its fury. To be captain was to be the ship. That, at least, was certain. An unbreakable natural law. There was only one captain here. Himself. Not Sir Henry, alive or dead, or whatever he was. On that final day, as embers and smoke swirled about the skeletonizing vessel, a note was written, stuffed by a desperate, shaky hand into the last unbroken bottle. Captain William Bale, of HMS Good Hope 26th of April, 1848. We freeze, we burn, we do not die. Send no more ships. Pray for our souls and all souls if we have them. Things are not as we believe. The ice is full of horrors. God prevent you from seeking. God help you if you find.